Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's recording. We're going to be talking about a new atmosphere. You know that when God made the earth, He didn't just create it by itself. He created it with the heavens at the same time. You see, heaven and earth were created at the same exact time. And the reason for this was because God's original intention was for earth and heaven to be one. Genesis 1:1 says, "In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth." See, for God, heaven and earth are one. And for this very reason, when God created humans, it was necessary for Him to create us with the ability to be able to live on earth and heaven at the same time. That is why God grabbed dust from the earth, the natural part, and formed us from it. But then He breathed His life into us. That was the spiritual part. So thus enabling us to be able to be natural beings, but also spiritual beings. Humans were not created to only be living their lives in the natural, but we have been called to see into the spiritual as well. So we need to stop seeing earth and heaven as if they were two separate things far away. God, in the beginning, joined them together, and what God has joined together, let no man separate. When man sinned, it not only affected humanity, it also affected the earth. Before sin, earth never decayed. You would have never seen a yellow leaf or a tree that would die. It was eternally alive. Now, our bodies will eventually die, but our spirits never die, because our spirits came from God. Our bodies came from the earth, and in reality, our bodies would have never died either if it wasn't for sin, because sin brought with it death. In heaven, we will not just be spirit, we will have a new glorified body that will never die. So when Jesus came to earth, He was not just a spirit. He was the Word, the spiritual part, made flesh, the natural part. So the Bible testifies countless amount of times how Jesus would live His life on earth and heaven at the same time. I mean, the guy walked on water, and after His resurrection, He levitated into the sky, walked through walls. He did miraculous things. Jesus is the proof for all humans that God didn't make a mistake when He created us. Jesus did not just show us what He could do while He was on earth. He came to show us what we can also do while we're here on earth. Will it be surprising for us to be able to fly in heaven? I don't think so. Will it be surprising for us to teleport from one place to another in the spirit? Absolutely not. The scriptures, in fact, record, even in the Old Testament, how there were men of God who walked in such power that if we were even to mention what they did or see it happen in today's days, we may be freaked out. I mean, for all those people who find it hard to believe in the miraculous, I would have to wonder if they ever even read their Bibles. The Bible is full of miraculous things. Moses threw his rod on the ground and it would turn into a snake. Elijah never died. He was taken straight to heaven. Enoch never died. Elisha told his servant Gehazi that while he was doing his interaction with Naaman, that he himself was there. Naturally, he never left his bedroom. He was there in the spirit. These people moved in amazing power, but here lies the greatest kicker of all. They did all these things before the cross. How much more for us now? Everyone is so amazed about the glory that shined on Moses' face that it literally made him shine like a light bulb. But so many forget that the scriptures now declare over you and I that the glory that Moses had compared to the one that we now have is like no glory. Imagine, God says, what you now have is greater than what Moses had. And we are talking about a man that won wars and opened up the Red Sea just by lifting his hands. How much more will we do now when we raise our hands? We are now in a whole new atmosphere. When Jesus died on the cross, literally the veil that separated the holy place from the Holy of Holies was torn into two. His body was torn so that we can now have access back into the most holy of holies, heaven. Now, heaven is glorious, not because it is heaven, but rather because of the atmosphere that is God himself. Our minds have not even begun to fully comprehend what great work God has accomplished on the cross. And even in heaven, we will not fully be able to understand it. We need not wait to die and get to heaven. We have heaven right here, right now. How far away is heaven? Well, how far away can you stretch out your hands? Because the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Jesus even stepped it up a notch. He said that the kingdom of heaven is inside of you. In this very present time, darkness is advancing. I mean, Halloween is coming up and we take it as if it were just a normal holiday, but it is not. It comes from the very pits of hell. There are times coming where the sons and daughters of God will have face-to-face encounters with Satanists themselves on the streets in front of huge crowds of people, and people will see God's power liberating witches, Satanists. As we demonstrate his power, they will try to move with their supernatural power, but we will manifest God's true supernatural power right in front of their faces. And this will not be by our own faith. It will come from an outflow of intimacy with the Father. For all our talk about waiting for God's glory to cover the earth as the water covers the sea, we have misread the verse. It says that one day the knowledge of God's glory will cover the earth as the water covers the sea. But right here, right now, Isaiah says that the earth is full of God's glory. So let's not wait any longer. Let us experience what we have. Sure, the person next to you could be in hell, but that's not your portion any longer in Christ. You can be in the middle of darkness and pull others into the light. Isaiah 60 verse 2 says, "For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and deep darkness the people. But the Lord will arise over you, and his glory will be seen upon you." So we may ask, okay, if God's glory is here, but we're missing that knowledge of it, then what is this knowledge of God's glory? And it is simple. It is Jesus himself. He is the knowledge of God's glory. As we learn to know him, God receives glory, and therefore we experience it as well. And in this place of constantly knowing God, in this place, we find the place of constant transformation. We don't try to perform by moving in the supernatural, but rather the supernatural becomes normal for us as we learn to live with the supernatural one. There is a place beyond miracles, that there is a place beyond all of this, and it is a place of intimacy. And this is now the atmosphere that we are in. Let me tell you, we can have a constant relationship with God all the time. We can feel his presence 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Not just sometimes, it is all the time. This is the new atmosphere that we have been brought into by the pouring of his blood. We can live inside God. We don't enter into heaven because heaven entered into you. You see, we have been raised up with Christ and seated in heavenly places in Christ. See, Christ is not in heaven. Heaven is in Christ. The heavens can't contain him. He is too big. Now, if Jesus lives in us, then the heavens are now in us as well, just as Jesus said. See, it says in 2 Corinthians 5:17, "Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come. The old has gone. The new is here." We are now in a whole new reality. The old is gone and the new is here. Many may say, if this is true, then why aren't we seeing it manifest? Why aren't we seeing that greater glory? Why aren't we opening up bodies of water, ending wars by raising our hands, being a sign and wonder for God? And the answer is simple. We have not realized it. Isaiah 43 verse 19 says, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." So God is saying, do you perceive it? Have you realized it? Have you realized what I've done? He has already done it. So let us realize it and therefore experience it. 1 John 3:2 says, "Dear friends, now we are children of God, and what we will be has not yet been made known. But we know that when Christ appears, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is." It says, now we are children of God. Right now, we don't fully know what we are, but when he appears, we will fully see. And let me tell you, we do not have to wait, because we already are his children right here, right now. 1 John 4:17 says, "Herein is our love made perfect, that we may have boldness in the day of judgment. Because as he is, so are we in this world." As he is, so are we. See, this is all about intimacy, and through intimacy, manifesting him and manifesting our sonship, so that people will not be able to help but turn their heads and look towards us. Because when they turn and see us, they will see God himself.